Before thought begins, truth is already whispering. Only the silent can hear it by positive inner conversation. There is a sound within you that has no tongue. It speaks before your mind can form a thought, before logic sharpens its knife, before fear rearranges your truth. It is the voice that knows before you think. And it has been calling your name since the moment you first opened your eyes to the world. But somewhere between the noise of deadlines, the hum of algorithms, and the endless scroll of comparison, you stop listening. Not because you wanted to, but because the world convinced you that silence has no value, that intuition is too soft to lead, that certainty must come wrapped in data, strategy, and proof. Yet what if the proof you seek is the echo of a voice that whispers before thought? A signal older than language, more precise than any algorithm ever built. I want you to imagine this. A sailor lost at sea. The map has washed away, the compass shattered. Night stretches endless, and yet, as he stares into the abyss of waves, something within begins to stir, a quiet certainty, guiding him toward a direction he cannot explain. He follows it. Days later, he reaches the shore. When asked how he knew where to go, he says, "I didn't. I just felt the ocean shift inside me." That feeling, that wordless guidance, is the same voice that breathes within you. We live in a culture that celebrates the loud, that rewards those who can explain, rationalize, and defend. But mastery, true mastery, is not born in the noise of analysis. It is born in the silent alignment between awareness and action. The great inventors, the entrepreneurs who saw opportunity where others saw risk, the sages who spoke of destiny before the world believed, they were not guessing. They were listening. When Nikola Tesla said his ideas came as flashes of light, when Steve Jobs trusted the dots would connect, when Rumi wrote, "There is a voice that doesn't use words, listen," they were all speaking of the same phenomenon, the mind behind the mind. Science calls it intuition. Spirituality calls it guidance. Philosophy calls it gnosis, direct knowing. But whatever name you give it, it is the source code of wisdom, the compass that turns even chaos into coherence. When you align with that inner current, you no longer chase clarity. You radiate it. You no longer ask, "What should I do?" You simply move as if the action was already decided within the fabric of your being. This is not mysticism dressed in poetic words. It is the practical art of alignment, the state in which your mind, emotion, and intuition operate as one organism, flowing toward your highest possibility. You know this state. You felt it in fleeting moments. When you walked into a room and knew the energy was off before anyone spoke. When you met someone and felt instant trust or unease. When you hesitated for no reason, only to realize later that hesitation saved you. When you said yes to an idea no one else believed in, and it changed everything. That's the voice that knows before you think. But here lies the paradox. The more we try to control it, the quieter it becomes. The more we chase logic, the further it recedes. Because intuition is not a command you issue. It is a frequency you tune into. Imagine a radio. The signal is always broadcasting. But if your mind is filled with static, anxiety, overthinking, fear, you'll only hear noise. This is why so many brilliant people live beneath their own potential. They've built wealth, success, recognition, but they've lost the one thing that guided them there, the inner knowing that led before the plan was written. The highest performers do not just think strategically, they feel accurately. Their intuition isn't mystical, it's trained, refined, trusted. It's their hidden competitive advantage. Because intuition is not the opposite of logic. It's the source from which logic arises. It's the blueprint beneath every thought you'll ever have. Picture the mind as an ocean. The surface is thought, restless, glittering, always moving. But deep beneath, there's a current, silent, powerful, steady. That's intuition. And the deeper you sink, the more truth you feel, until you realize you were never lost. You were simply swimming too close to the surface. When you learn to dwell in those depths, decisions become effortless. Opportunities align. People sense your calm certainty. You no longer react to life. You orchestrate it. You become the kind of person whose presence alone feels like direction. So in this journey, this unfolding reflection through the voice that knows before you think, we will explore not just how to hear this voice, but how to live from it. We'll uncover how to dissolve the static that clouds intuition, the overthinking, the noise, the emotional storms, and how to transform your inner signal into your outer success. Because every empire, every legacy, every profound transformation begins not with a plan, but with a whisper. And that whisper is already within you, waiting to be remembered. The question is, are you ready to listen again?
There is a space between perception and thought, a pause so subtle it almost disappears. And in that pause, the entire architecture of your destiny is being assembled. This is the dimension of inner knowing. It is where the future whispers its coordinates, and the universe waits to see if you are quiet enough to receive them. At its essence, intuition is not an ability you learn, it's a sensitivity you uncover. It's like the stars, always there, but invisible until the sky grows dark enough. That's why the first theme in understanding the voice that knows before you think is the art of stillness. The modern mind worships movement, constant input, constant doing. But clarity is not born in noise, it's revealed in silence. When your inner world slows, perception sharpens. When you stop grasping for answers, answers find you. Stillness is not laziness, it's alignment. It's the mind returning to its natural rhythm, the rhythm that the ancients called the breath of the soul. You see, great creators don't think their way into brilliance, they listen their way into brilliance. The best decisions of your life won't emerge from calculation, but from a sudden calm certainty, a knowing that arrives without evidence, yet carries the weight of truth. The second theme is trust. The voice that knows cannot guide a mind that refuses to follow. And so many people betray their own guidance because they mistake intuition's whisper for doubt. But intuition rarely shouts. It does not debate or convince. It simply nudges, lightly, persistently, until you either move with it or life moves you through consequence. Every time you ignore it, the signal weakens. Every time you trust it, the connection deepens. That is the great paradox of inner guidance. The more you act on it, the louder it becomes. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it's the practice of trusting the unseen. The third theme, integration, the dance between intuition and logic. Many think they must choose between the two, as though the rational mind and the intuitive heart were rivals. But they are not rivals. They are instruments in the same orchestra. Logic is the melody, clear, structured, measurable. Intuition is the harmony, subtle, emotional, transcendent. And when both play together, you become symphonic, a living composition of wisdom and will. A leader without intuition becomes mechanical. A dreamer without logic becomes lost. But a mind that unites both can see patterns before they form, move before opportunity knocks, and create results that look like miracles to those who only live at the surface of thought. This is how visionaries anticipate trends before markets shift, how artists innovate before culture catches up, how you, in your own life, can sense timing, resonance, and readiness before the world gives you permission. This is the fourth theme, emotional mastery. Because intuition is not just a mental signal, it's an energetic one. And emotion is its language. To hear the voice that knows before you think, you must learn to differentiate between emotion and intuition. Emotion is reactive. It rises from attachment, expectation, or fear. Intuition is neutral. It observes, directs, and whispers without tension. Emotion says, "I want this to happen." Intuition says, "This is what's aligned." When you master emotion, you can finally discern guidance from noise. This is why great traders, leaders, and creators train emotional regulation, not to suppress feeling, but to keep the channel clear. Because in the silence beyond reaction lies infinite precision. When your emotions no longer dictate your actions, intuition begins to pilot them. You stop chasing outcomes and start aligning with inevitabilities. The fifth theme is the language of resonance. Have you noticed how certain people, ideas, or places feel alive? How something inside you hums in their presence, a vibration of recognition? That's resonance, the energetic signature of truth. The universe communicates through resonance. When something is aligned with your path, it doesn't beg for attention, it magnetizes it. Resonance is how intuition speaks through the body. A calm in your chest, a spark of excitement, a deep, wordless yes. The more you honor those sensations, the more they evolve into precise direction. Eventually, you begin to navigate reality not through thought, but through frequency, through felt understanding. This is the highest form of intelligence, not thinking about truth, but feeling it. And finally, the theme of surrender. The voice that knows before you think does not operate on your timeline. It speaks in divine timing, in the rhythm of preparation, patience, and synchronicity. To hear it, you must let go of your need to control outcomes, because control creates static. But surrender, conscious, empowered surrender, creates flow. You were not designed to micromanage the cosmos. You were designed to dance with it, to co-create, not command. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means tuning in. It means replacing force with alignment.
It means realizing that when you follow your inner knowing, you move with a wisdom older than reason, and that wisdom always leads you home. Each of these themes, stillness, trust, integration, emotional mastery, resonance, surrender, are gateways into the same sacred truth. You already know what you seek. Your task is not to find the voice, but to remember it. Because beneath all the complexity, beneath the layers of doubt, there is a still, steady knowing that has never left you. And when you live from that space, you stop surviving life and start conducting it. The mind obeys the voice that thinks. The universe obeys the voice that knows. So now, let us journey deeper, beyond principles, into the living poetry of practice, the symbolic stories that awaken the forgotten language of the soul.
Once upon a silence, deeper than sound, before words had meaning, and before time learned to count itself, there was a place the sages called the Field of Knowing. They said it was not found in heaven or earth, but in the space between the inhale and the exhale, the moment where the Creator still listens for your next choice. And in that field, 1,000 stories were written, each one a mirror to awaken the inner ear, the ear that hears before you think. Let me tell you 3 of them. The merchant and the river. There once was a merchant known across kingdoms for his wisdom in trade. He could smell profit as a wolf smells rain. But as his wealth grew, so did his doubt. He began to consult charts, oracles, and scholars for every decision, afraid that one wrong move would unravel all he had built. One day, his caravan reached a river swollen from endless rain. He stood on the bank, paralyzed. To cross too soon meant death. To wait too long meant loss. In his confusion, an old ferryman spoke from his hut. "The river tells you when to cross. You're simply not listening." The merchant frowned. "The river does not speak." The ferryman smiled. "It never stops." That night, as thunder roared and wind screamed, the merchant sat by the current, silent, shivering, listening. And then something shifted. He felt the rhythm of the water ease, as if a great breath had been released. Before dawn he rose, called his men, and crossed. The moment they reached the other side, the sky split open again, flooding the valley behind them. He never forgot that moment, not the crossing, but the feeling before it. He built his empire by following that sensation, the calm that arrives before decision, the certainty that speaks without words. The merchant became a legend, not because of his intellect, but because he learned to trust the river within. The alchemist of quiet fire. In another age, there lived an alchemist who sought to turn lead into gold. He studied the formulas, the stars, the sacred texts, but every experiment ended in smoke. One evening, exhausted and broken, he threw his tools aside and whispered, "Why does this not work for me?" From the shadows came a soft voice. "Because you keep searching for gold instead of becoming it." He turned. No one was there. Yet something in him knew the truth of the words. So, for 40 days, he sat in silence. No fire, no formulas, only stillness.
And in that stillness, he noticed a strange thing. The metals in his lab seemed to respond to his state. When his heart was restless, the mixtures curdled. When his heart was at peace, the reactions aligned. He realized that alchemy was never about the furnace. It was about frequency. The true transformation was internal. Lead into gold, fear into trust, doubt into knowing. The voice before thought was the real philosopher's stone, the unseen fire that turns inner chaos into luminous order. And from that day on, the alchemist's workshop became a sanctuary, where silence itself was the first ingredient in every creation. The wanderer and the compass of stars. A wanderer once crossed the desert chasing a dream of hidden cities. He had a map written in symbols he didn't understand. When storms erased his tracks, he fell to his knees and shouted to the sky, "Why give me a map I cannot read?" Then, from above, a single star flared brighter than the rest. In that instant, he understood. The map was not meant to be read. It was meant to awaken his direction. Every night thereafter, he followed the star that shimmered most, and with every step, new constellations appeared, as though the heavens rearranged themselves to reward his movement. When he finally reached the city of mirrors, he found no treasure, only a vast lake reflecting the night sky. As he looked into its surface, he realized the stars had never been above him. They had always been within. He knelt, closed his eyes, and whispered, "The compass I sought was the same voice that walked beside me, the thread that binds them." The merchant learned to trust the signal in stillness. The alchemist learned to transform through inner alignment. The wanderer learned to move with faith beyond proof. They each discovered that intuition is not the opposite of logic, but the origin of wisdom, the whisper that builds empires, heals wounds, and guides destinies. They are you, in your boardroom doubts, your creative blocks, your sleepless questions. You are the merchant at the river of decision, the alchemist refining the gold of your own frequency, the wanderer crossing deserts of uncertainty with stars that shine only for the brave. Because every challenge you face, every fork in your career, every silence in your heart is a sacred initiation, an invitation to remember the voice that has been guiding you since before you had words. The world tells you to chase information, but the universe rewards attunement. The merchant did not learn by reading more scrolls. He listened to the current. The alchemist did not find the formula. He found himself. The wanderer did not decode the map. He became the compass. And so it is with you. When you stop seeking certainty outside, you start radiating direction from within. In every great story of transformation, intuition is the silent character, the unseen companion who points the hero toward their destiny. But only those who trust it see its face. You may call it instinct, flow, divine guidance, subconscious intelligence. The name does not matter. What matters is whether you choose to listen. Because that voice, the one that knows before you think, has already charted your course. All it waits for is your trust. And so, dear listener, as these symbols echo through you, the river, the gold, the stars, ask yourself, where in your life is the river already giving you a sign? What lead within you is asking to become gold? Which inner star is calling you forward, quietly, persistently, waiting for your faith? For in those questions lies the next step of your journey, where myth becomes method and wisdom becomes practice.
The stories have spoken, but now we return to the ground, the boardroom, the inbox, the daily rhythm of choice and consequence. Because wisdom that stays in the clouds is only half awake. True understanding must move through your hands. So how do we live guided by the voice that knows before we think in a world that demands metrics, results, and constant proof? The answer is not to abandon logic, but to anchor it in alignment. The science of the subtle. Modern neuroscience now confirms what mystics have always intuited. The body knows before the mind decides. Microseconds before a conscious decision occurs, your heart rate changes, your gut shifts, your nervous system whispers yes or no. It's not magic, it's signal. The subconscious, vast, intuitive, lightning fast, reads reality before the conscious mind catches up. This is the physiological foundation of intuition. And it means that cultivating intuition is not irrational. It's a training in precision, in the reading of your own instrument. You are the technology. Your awareness is the interface. So let's bring this into the real, into money, leadership, creation, and love. 1. Intuition in decision-making, the inner data system. Every successful entrepreneur and visionary eventually learns this secret. Data can inform you, but intuition decides for you. When you face a major choice, a partnership, an investment, a move, logic gathers the evidence, but intuition reads the field. Here is the practice. When facing a decision, pause before analysis. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths and observe your body's first uncensored response. Does your chest expand or contract? Does your stomach loosen or tighten? Does time feel fast or slow? These are not random sensations. They are your inner compass reading the terrain of possibility. If you train yourself to record these signals before you think, you'll begin to notice a pattern. Your body predicts truth faster than your brain explains it. The most aligned decisions are not the ones that make the most sense. They're the ones that make the most peace. 2. The entrepreneur's edge, flow-based strategy. High performers who operate purely from logic often burn out. They overplan and undertrust. But those who pair strategy with intuition move in harmony with timing. They don't chase momentum, they surf it. Imagine business not as a battlefield, but as an ocean. Your vision is the vessel, your systems are the sails, but intuition, that's the wind. You cannot command the wind, but you can learn to feel its shifts. Every time you get still, you sense where the industry, the energy, or your audience is turning, and you adjust fluidly, fearlessly. That's not chance. That's synchronicity trained through self-trust. So begin each day with 2 minutes of silence before checking your phone. Listen for direction, not distraction. Ask, where is the energy asking to move today? Then act on the smallest intuitive impulse that feels clear. Over time, you'll discover a rhythm that feels guided because it is. 3. Emotional intelligence, the gatekeeper of intuition.
If your emotions are storms, your intuition will drown beneath the waves. Emotional mastery doesn't mean suppression. It means the ability to let feeling flow through you without defining you. When anger, fear, or anxiety arise, pause and breathe them like guests. Ask them, what message do you carry? Often fear is a guardian of your boundaries, and anxiety is intuition knocking too loudly to be ignored. It's not the goal to silence emotion, but to translate it into awareness. Because emotional regulation is the bridge between the subconscious, where intuition lives, and the conscious, where decisions manifest. The more grounded you are emotionally, the clearer your intuitive channel becomes. So practice this daily. When you feel heavy, don't resist. Breathe until you sense neutrality return. That calm that follows the storm, that's when intuition speaks. 4. Relationships and resonance. Every connection in your life is an energetic transaction. When two frequencies align, conversation flows, creativity expands, and trust feels natural. When they don't, no amount of effort compensates. You felt it. That person who drains you for no reason, and that one who energizes you after a 5-minute talk. This is the law of resonance. Your intuition reads people's energetic signatures faster than your mind evaluates them. So before you force another meeting, before you chase another relationship that feels heavy, pause and ask, does this connection make my energy expand or contract? Expansion means alignment. Contraction means redirection. This single question, if practiced honestly, can save you years of confusion, negotiation, and heartache. It's not about judgment. It's about energetic truth. Every no you honor creates space for a deeper yes. 5. Wealth, abundance, and manifestation. Money flows where energy flows, and energy flows where attention feels alive. This means intuition is not just spiritual, it's financial intelligence, because aligned action always outperforms forced effort. Abundance is not the result of controlling life, it's the consequence of syncing with life. When your intuitive says move, move. When it says wait, wait. Timing is the invisible currency of success. Manifestation at its core is listening, not commanding the universe, but harmonizing with it. When your inner world says yes, you act from fullness, not fear. And that action carries a different frequency, one that magnetizes opportunity instead of chasing it. Your success is not created in the marketplace. It is revealed through your energetic alignment. That's why the most magnetic entrepreneurs, artists, and leaders all share the same secret rhythm. They are tuned to the voice that knows before they think. 6. Daily rituals to strengthen the signal. If intuition is a muscle, discipline is its breath. Here are the rituals that refine the voice. Morning stillness. Before touching your phone, sit for 3 minutes and ask no questions. Just listen. This teaches your nervous system to find signal in silence. Intuitive journaling. Write the phrase, "the truth I need to hear right now," and let your hand move without editing. Read it later. You'll be surprised by your own clarity. Body check-ins. Throughout the day, ask, how does this moment feel in my body? You'll begin to map the language of your intuition: expansion, contraction, heat, stillness. Decision practice. Each evening, recall one decision you made that felt aligned and one that didn't. What was the inner sensation in each? Over time, your body becomes your compass. These rituals recalibrate you. They dissolve static. They return you to coherence. Because intuition doesn't need to be summoned, it needs to be allowed. When you live this way, life stops being a series of reactions and becomes a choreography, a dance between your soul's rhythm and the world's unfolding. Intuition is the great equalizer. It belongs to every mind that dares to listen, every heart that dares to trust. In a world obsessed with proof, your inner knowing is the rarest form of rebellion and the highest form of intelligence. Now that you understand how to walk this truth in your daily life, how to merge the mystical with the practical and the silent with the strategic, we arrive at the final movement of this symphony, the closing reflection, the return to stillness, the call to transformation.
There comes a moment in every journey when the map dissolves, when you realize that all the wisdom you've gathered, all the lessons, frameworks, and strategies were not destinations, but mirrors pointing back to the source, you. You've walked through silence and signal, through myth and method, through the river, the fire, the stars. Now, let us return to where we began, to the soundless place before sound, to the voice that knows before you think. The greatest truth is often the simplest. You were never meant to find intuition. You were meant to remember it. It has always been speaking, like a soft hum beneath your thoughts, like gravity pulling you toward what's true. You've heard it in the moments you doubted yourself but moved anyway, in the risks you took that no one understood, in the quiet confidence that rose when logic said no. That voice, it doesn't live in the clouds of mysticism, nor in the noise of motivation. It lives in the pause between breaths, in the calm certainty between heartbeat and choice. It is not otherworldly. It is your original language. We live in an era where noise has become identity. People chase information, validation, opinion, but they rarely sit in the one place that holds all the answers: stillness. Yet those who do, those who learn to hear that voice before thought, move differently through the world. Their success seems effortless, their timing uncanny. They walk into chaos and bring coherence. They do not react, they resonate. This is the secret every mystic, every master, every great creator shares. They are not guided by circumstance, they are guided by frequency. They have learned the art of remembering the inner signal amid the static of the world. Think of it. The sailor who trusts the unseen current finds the shore. The artist who listens to inspiration before judgment paints the masterpiece. The leader who feels the shift before the market sees it changes history. These are not accidents. They are echoes of the same intelligence that breathes through you. Because intuition is not a gift for the chosen few. It is the natural inheritance of everyone brave enough to be quiet. Your next breakthrough, your next relationship, your next creative leap, none of them will come from more noise, but from less resistance. The answers you seek are already waiting beneath the sound of your own seeking. So, how do you live from here forward? You listen differently. When your mind screams for certainty, pause and ask, what does silence say? When you stand at the edge of decision, feel the space between the inhale and the exhale, the place where intuition hides in plain sight. When you feel the pull of fear, ask not, what if it fails, but what part of me already knows the way? Let that part lead. It will never misguide you. One day, you will look back on your life and realize that every detour, every heartbreak, every delay was the universe adjusting your frequency to match the life you were meant to live. You were never off path,
only out of tune. And now you are tuning again to the voice that knows before you think, the guidance that feels like memory, the wisdom that doesn't explain itself because it is itself. You were not designed to overthink your destiny. You were designed to embody it. So as you leave this space, take a breath. Feel the stillness under your ribs. That's not emptiness. That's the signal. That's your compass humming with life. Every great future you could possibly imagine already exists in that vibration. You do not have to chase it. You only have to align with it. If this stirred something within you, carry it, reflect on it, live it, subscribe, and return often. Every word here is designed to awaken the clarity and power already within you. Because this remembrance is not an ending. It is the quiet beginning of a different kind of success. A success born not of control, but of connection. The voice that knows before you think is already speaking. Now, listen.